Good evening, everyone. Welcome. So, I suppose that we should begin our review. We've got about 15 minutes or so to remind ourselves what we've learned about calm abiding. And I'm not sure if any of the folks who don't have their video on are actually joining us for the review or just holding place until actual class starts, but I'd just like to ask if anybody has any questions or anything before we start reviewing.
Nope.
Okie dokie. Well, I really think that, so I guess it was 2 weeks ago that Lamrim led the review, and she was really, I think, challenging us to think more deeply rather than just reciting what we know about these things. So I think that's a fantastic way to go. I'm afraid if we don't just sometimes recite, however, that we might lose what we've memorized unless folks are doing it at home. So I'm going to try to do maybe a combination of those and we'll just see how it goes. So if you like the way that Lamrim does it, you could perhaps ask if she would do it again in the future sometime. But I thought it might be useful to just sort of remind ourselves about the 9 stages and try to remember what they're called. So does anybody want to make an effort towards naming the stages? Okay. This is going to be a long 15 minutes. Okay, so the first stage is called inner placement. And there's something that happens sort of as a new experience when we are doing this, when we're trying to, place our mind on one single object and stay focused there. Does anyone know what that new experience is?
Well, we become aware of our thoughts.
That's right. And it seems like we've got a lot of thoughts, right? Do our thoughts actually increase?
No, it just seems like that because we're paying attention to them for the first.
That's right. That's right. Okay, and so then the second stage, what's that one called?
Oh.
We have to constantly put in effort.
Continual placement.
That's it, continual placement, right. And so what's special about this one? What's the new experience we get there?
Those busy thoughts take a little rest.
Exactly, that's right. So then we move on, once we've mastered that, to stage 3, which is called?
Patch-like placement.
Very good. Yep, and there's a new experience we get there. What's that?
Like your conceptual thoughts are exhausted.
Exactly. It's even more than at stage 2 where they're resting. Now they're exhausted. Exactly. Okay. And stage 4 is called?
Close placement.
Very good. Yep. And let's see. I think I'll ask that a different way on the next one. Okay. So what do we complete in stage 4? We master something completely.
Power of mindfulness.
Yes, exactly. Mindfulness is mastered at stage 4. Now, when we're just looking at these first 4 stages, can we still lose the object?
Yes.
Until where?
Until on the 4th stage, you don't lose the object anymore, especially because the power of mindfulness is complete.
Exactly. Very good. Yep.
And that's the antidote for forgetting the instruction.
Way to bring that all together, Lamrim. Perfect. That's right. That's right. Okay, and what's the name of stage 5?
Subdued placement.
That's correct. So once we get to stage 5, there are a couple of states of mind we don't have to worry about anymore. What are those?
Gross excited and gross sinking mind.
That's right. That's exactly right. So once we get to stage 5, now all we're dealing with are the subtle excitement and the subtle sinking. Yep. Okay. And then in stage 6, what's the name of that one?
Pacifying.
Exactly. Yep. And what's the biggest challenge in stage 6?
Subtle excited mind.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And bonus points if you can say why.
My sense is that introspection is complete, is it not? Or is that in the 7th?
So you perfect introspection in the 6th. That's absolutely right. My understanding is that the reason why subtle excited is the biggest problem in stage 6 is because in stage 5, you're working so hard to counter, to cheer up your mind because you're countering the sinking, that now you overcorrect. And of course, when we're talking about the subtle mind, it's just by a little bit, overcorrection is not wildly off the mark, right?
So the power of introspection isn't complete until the 7th?
No, you perfected in the 6th. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you were right about that you perfect introspection there. But my understanding is the reason why subtle excitement is the biggest challenge is because you've swung too far trying to cheer yourself up from the sinking of stage 5.
So what I don't understand is that introspection is the antidote for sinking an excited mind. So if you perfect the power of inspection, is that perfected at the end of the stage or at the beginning of the stage? Because you still have subtle excited mind.
Yeah, and I get confused about that too, Lamala. I'm not really sure exactly. When we say you perfect it in this stage, does that mean when you've completed that stage? I'm not quite sure about the language there, about precisely when that happens. Yeah. So I'm sorry that I'm no help there. Does anyone else know? Did anyone else take that away from the teachings? Okay. Okay. All right. So stage 7 is called what?
Complete pacification.
Exactly. Yep. And stage 8?
Becoming single-pointed.
Right. And stage 9?
Meditative stabilization.
That's right. Very good. Okay, so when we talk about the different powers, how many are there?
6.
Right, there are 6 powers. And so what's the first one called?
Knowledge from hearing.
Yeah, and where do you need that? Like, how many stages?
You have that in I think just the first stage.
That's right, yep. And then the second power is called?
Contemplation.
Yep, the power of contemplation. And how many stages do you use that for?
Just a second.
Yep. And then the next power?
Mindfulness.
And which stages, stage or stages?
That lasts through the 3rd and 4th stages.
That's exactly right. Yep. And what comes after mindfulness?
Power of introspection.
Very good. And how many stages is that one?
2, 5, and 6.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so we have two more left. What's the next to last one?
Joyful effort.
Very good. And how many stage or stages?
That's in stages 7 and 8.
Excellent. And then the final power?
Familiarization.
Yes, very good. Okay. And so what does that mean? Like why do we care about the powers?
Well, those, it seems like those are powers that help us can progress, help us, master each stage and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I understand it. Does anybody else have anything different or in addition? Okay. Okay, and so just to sort of jump around and see if we're, able to actually integrate these things. So there's kind of a sign that you've achieved one of the stages when you're able to recite an entire mala of Mani mantras without distraction. What stage have you completed once you can do that?
Is that the second stage?
Yep. Yep. And Geshe has said that not only Mani mantras, you can just say a mala of mantras. So I've seen it both ways. Okay. And what stage have we completed when we can count 21 breaths without distraction?
That's the first stage, inner placement.
Right. And so we already talked about this, but just to remind ourselves, what is the stage where we complete mindfulness?
Fourth.
Fourth stage, yeah.
That's right. And again, what comes after mindfulness? What do we perfect next?
Perfection.
Introspection. Yeah. Yeah. And why do we care about any of these things we've talked about over the last 10 minutes?
They're all understanding that helps us when we're working on developing calm abiding so that we know sort of where we are and we understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So we can kind of have an idea of where we are. And then in particular, if we're having trouble, then it's a little bit clearer perhaps of what we need to do about it to help us keep progressing. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And of course, we also care about it because Geshe has asked us to do it. But I believe the reason he's asked us to do it is because of what Donna just said. So
I think
okay.
also you might mistake subtle sinking mind for meditated equipoise or meditative stabilization. So yeah, and then think that you've attained liberation. So, all you are is just in subtle sinking mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lama La, that if we think that we've reached our final goal and we're nowhere near that goal, then that's, of course, negative from a lot of point of views. One can be just how discouraging it is then when you recognize that you aren't enlightened or haven't achieved calm abiding in that case. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a really good point, Lama La. Okay. Any questions before we wrap up the review?
I have a question. Can you
Sure.
hear me?
Yes, Julie.
Okay. My question is, when I'm thinking of my object, it's supposed to be approximately 6 feet in front of me, correct? Like a holograph. Like, so I can actually see the object, correct?
Yeah, I would say,
Or
I
is
mean,
it
even more solid than a holograph, right? Like the object is there in front of you. Yeah.
Yes, well, I just use that to describe
Sure.
what. So my question is it helpful? I seem to have like a dark room and almost be facing like a blank wall so that it becomes very clear. Not that I'm good at it or anything, but so that it becomes clearer, and it seems to be more stable when I don't have other objects to deal with. It just seems to be a little easier. Am I on the right track, or is that just a distraction and I should be able to see it with all the objects there in a bright light? Which I can do it, but it seems to be easier in a very dark room.
Yeah, so Julie, what I'm hearing is that for you, when you're doing it, if you're able to do it with that dark sort of dark room, dark wall, that makes it easier for you to see things clearly, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different tools we can all use, right? I mean, some people close their eyes, some people have their eyes open, and a lot of the instructions say to have your eyes slightly open, but then there are also a lot that say to have that you can have your eyes closed. So I'm not sure that there's that the texts make a clear statement about the brightness of the room or, that type of thing. I'm curious if anyone wants to share what their experiences are, whether they've tried that, if that helps, if they have other things that they do.
I'm glad you mentioned the closed
Gelek is here?
eye part. Oh, he's here. Geshe's here.
Please, good evening. Have a seat, Chukila. Have a seat. Oh, good evening, Ramasi.
Good evening, Geshe.
Good evening, Tom. How's your friend?
He's still in really pretty tough shape, Geshe.
Yeah, we continue to pray. Okay, we continue to pray
Yeah.
for this quick
Thank you.
recovery. Oh, yeah. Good evening, children. And, thank you for translating for people. Good evening, Jill. Good evening, Venerable Tintil Hamu. Good evening, Venerable Chukila. Good evening, Nili Wong. Good evening, Panditji. Good evening, Alex. Good evening, Sandra. Good evening, Jennifer. Good evening, Ryan. Good evening, Josephina. How's the situation in Texas now?
Some people are still struggling with water, but mostly we have electricity and things are getting back to normal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will continue to pray.
Thank you.
Good evening, Peter. Good evening, Elise. Good evening, HF. I'm not sure who is that. HF. Just joking, Helen, just joking. Oh, good evening, Will. Good evening, David.
Good evening.
Good evening, Govina, with two nice dogs. What is the name?
My dog,
Yes,
she's Kali,
Kali.
And she is Shiva.
Shiva. Oh, that's interesting name, Shiva. Shiva Kali. But Kali is the powerful female deity in Hinduism. Shiva is like Shiva Bhagavan, like Om Chukmaya. Supposed to living in Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash. Oh yeah. Anyway, good evening, Julie. Good evening, Susie. Good evening, Catherine. Good evening, Jessica. Good evening, Venerable Hamo. Good evening, Emil. Emily. Emil. Good evening, Laura. Good evening, Habir Rosa. Meta. It is hot there. It's very hot. So here today is nice. Yeah. Okay, so Lamala, maybe prayer. Begin the short prayer. Or anybody, if anybody watching on YouTube, good evening.
Start with the 7-limb prayer. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my actions accumulated since beginning was time and rejoice in the merit of holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of karma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. Saji perki shushing metal tamri rabdeshi ni degen padi Sangye Jindu Mikte Ua Idokunam Dak Jingla Chepasho Jetsunama Tampakenam Kichukukala Kense Chujinti Jita Tsampe Duje Zima Lasha Yecherki Charpawaptu So Idam Guru Ratamadalakam Niryatayami.
Sanje Chana Soje Chanam La Chanjo
Sadhudani Kapsuchi
Dagi Chishi Jibe Asuna
Sanangi Pinchu Sangetu Pasho
Sanje Chana
Sudan Saki Chonam La
Chanjo Pardo Dane Chan
Kapsuchi
Dagi Chishi
Sangi Pesunangi
Dola Penja
Sanje Pasha.
Sanje Choda Soje Chola
Namla.
Chancho Pado
Adu Dani Kapsuchi.
Dagi Chishi
Lengi Pesunamgi.
Dola Penja Sanje
Sangetu Pasha.
Nindu Shiva Sona Kushini Jini Tuja Payanda Dola Pemba Chanda Lapshini Jini Chiden Chandu Zaba Kandayanda Debe Tuna Naba Kunde Nazo Dezo Manje Chanja Sempe Soja Sanje Dala Chazela Kanki Tenje Deba Jun Gaba Meba Chemeba Chebar Meba Tameba Hoa Meba Ndo Meba Tade Tenje Me Chibanji Zobe Sanje Manam Je Tamba Dela Chazela Kanki Tuje Nezo Tawata Tambe Shume Kodam Dela Moya. So reciting Refuge and Bodhichitta prayers, so what we need to learn, why we recite 3 times, and beginning of every class or every practice that we do. So point behind that is like to teach, to listening, teaching, giving teachings, or reciting mantra, reciting sutra, doing meditation on precious human life or meditation on Lamrim, whatever meditation we do, and we try to, how to say, do it for benefit of all living beings. So that's why we recite Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer. Why refuge? No, of course, no. If you consider yourself as a Buddhist, so then that's the taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha. Taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha. To achieve liberations, fully enlightenment. In this case, of course, it's minor teaching. So you think about the benefit of all mother-centered beings, not just yourself. Benefit of all mother-centered beings. So basically, we're trying to do everything with altruistic attitude, which is draw to all the happiness, altruistic attitude, which is draw to all the happiness. So need to keep that in our mind. Otherwise, reciting Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer, we might create some merit, but it doesn't try to change anything. It doesn't change anything. So when you say, then when you reflect on the meaning, so then there's possibility we may be able to integrate that into your day-to-day life. So then, of course, then you'll get maximum benefit, maximum benefit. Just for the sake of knowledge, it's not just traditions, but there's important meaning behind that. Ultimately, it boils down on your freedom, your enlightenment, your freedom. So, so then tonight is the continuation of Edwards' thought transformations. I don't remember exactly which Kadama master said, but one of the Kadama masters said, without Lojong practice and our spiritual practice looks like painting of the fire on the wall. Painting of the fire on the wall, which looks like fire, but it doesn't have any energy. So that's why the Lojong or thought transformations teachings is very much needed in order to have some energy into our spiritual practice. Without Lojong mena marme remundas. Lojong mena marme remundas. So marme remund is like the painting of the fire on the wall. That doesn't have to be on the wall. It could be anywhere. I'm just saying it's on the wall, but could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. I'm just saying the wall because it's convenient. Because I'm surrounded by wall, so it could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. So bottom line is that it looks something that looks like fire, but it doesn't have energy to burn or to cook or to heat. So similarly, our spiritual practice, whether we are like doing mantra recitation, reciting sutra, doing Lamrim meditations, and there are not going to be any substance or energy if we not combine our spiritual practice with the thought transformations practice, total practice. Okay, so that's why, just want to say, I don't remember exactly which Kadama master, because there's like collection of advice from the Kadama master put it together as a textbook, so I don't remember which one said that. So how many stanzas we cover so far?
We've covered 2, Geshe.
2. So looks like we are going backward, not going forward. Then so now the third one is Cholam Kundu Rangjulas, Cholam Kundu. Throughout all our conduct, What is our conduct? We talk. There's one conduct. Then we think. There's 2 conduct. Then we move our physical body to think. These are the conduct. These are the conduct. Or like you could say conduct or actions or behavior. Cholam Kundu. Through all our conduct. Is that good English, Chukila? Through all our conduct. Cholam Kundu teachings, and we analyze. Means we are trying to be mindful. We are trying to be mindful. Trying to be mindful about our behavior, our conduct. Cholam Kundu Ranjula teachings, analyzing. Nyumo Jematas, Nyumo. In Sanskrit it's called Klesha. Then in English translation it's called delusions. Nyumo. Minute or second, the delusion rise. Da shen, da, you, means there will be negative impact. There will be negative impact on you and to others. Directly, indirectly, it makes you unhappy. It makes other unhappy. Therefore, Geshe Langri Taba said, with full force of effort, with full force of effort, with full effort. Need to stop, need to stop. Why? Because I'm Buddhist. Oh no, that's not a good reason. Because I want to be happy. Simple as that, because I want to be happy. I want others to be happy, not just me. I want others to be happy. Delusion destroyed happiness. Delusion destroyed happiness. Of course, there's physical happiness, mental happiness. Physical happiness cannot challenge mental happiness. Mental happiness far more deeper than physical happiness in terms of how you achieve, how long it will last, based on many things. The mental happiness is far more important than physical happiness. The reason is based on fact. The very reason why you're trying to be mindful throughout your conduct to protect peace of mind, protect your peace of mind, or make sure that your mind is not going to get disturbed. Then on top of that, make sure that you make sure the other person's mind doesn't get disturbed too. Kind of like making strong wish. May I able to stop that with faith in myself. I am someone who possesses Buddha nature. I am someone who is capable to reach fully enlightenment. I am someone who is capable to liberate myself. And I myself is considered as a sailboat, and this boat is capable to sail across the ocean of problem, ocean of complication, ocean of problem. If I put some effort, I could cross. But this boat is fully equipped to cross the ocean of complication or problem, difficulty, sufferings. So with that conviction, faith, so then you are kind of like, like making strong wish. May I able to stop every delusion, the minute they try to arise, may I able to stop them with full force for the sake of my happiness and the happiness of other people. So that's why the stanza number 3, there's the meaning. There's a point, no matter how you explain, that is the point. There are so much complications created by conversations, the lack of mindfulness, things that we say, people get hurt, their feeling get hurt. Things that other people say, then our feeling get hurt, not other person not being mindful. Yeah, so then the thought, actions, produced by thought. So negative, whenever there's negative thought rise, there's risk that very negative thought might turn into actions. So then somebody's going to get hurt. That's not very nice things to do. As far as your happiness is concerned, that's very nice, not nice things to do. So like this unrealistic approach that's hoping to achieve some kind of satisfactions, hurting others. That's pure ignorance. That's pure ignorance. Sorry to say, but that's pure ignorance. Hoping to achieve something, some kind of satisfactions, being kind, being generous, being nice. So that's a realistic approach. So other approach is completely ignorant, yeah. The first place, like how and why we believe, being mean to someone, achieve your goal. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why we believe it doesn't make sense. So that's why that's stanza number 3 is okay. Stanza number 3 is to be mindful, to be mindful. Oh, to be mindful. What do you think? Huh? It's not just Buddhist business. It's about our life. It's about our life. Then one may argue, oh, there are many unhappy people you see all the time. You can't be nice to them. Yeah, you have, I say, you do have legitimate concern. There are, unfortunately, not everybody's kind. According to Buddhism, main cause is delusions. Delusions is the main cause. We cannot separate actor and actions. We see this, them are like inseparable. That's also another ignorance. See, you could be surrounded by all these angry people, but you don't have to get angry. You have choice. You don't have to get angry. I'm not saying it's a piece of cake. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's challenge. But you don't have to be angry. That is possible. You can maintain your peace of mind sitting somewhere surrounded by all these angry people. You don't have to get angry. That is possible. Other hand, you can simply eliminate all these unruly beings on this planet. You cannot eliminate all of them. It's impossible. It's just waste of energy. It's impossible. You cannot change their mindset. It's complicated. It is complicated. Their belief, their logic, their theory, based on many different reasons. You can change, you cannot change. Even the Shakyamuni Buddha's time in India could not change everybody's mindset. Even the Mahatma Gandhi is like 75 years ago. It's not that long ago, 75 years ago. But Mahatma Gandhi cannot change, just forget of the whole world. Even cannot change everybody's mind, every single person's mind in India, because he was shot. One of his people, he was shot. See, can change. So now that's kind of like that I feel very overwhelmed what I should do, overwhelmed. Shanti Deva said very clearly, say that you are thinking to walk on like ground, probably let's say ground the size of football field, ground, you very much want to walk on that ground. But turns out that ground is filled with foam. So there's two things you can think of. You can think about, find some material that cover the whole, this ground, the size of football field, cover that, and you can walk on that with the barefoot without hurting yourself. There's one solution. Or you can just wear the shoes, then walk on there, same thing. Wearing shoes is like walking with your mind, rather than trying to change everybody else. That's like finding enough material to cover a whole ground the size of football field. That's requires so much energy and it's more complicated. Wearing our shoes, relatively much easier, doable, won't probably feel like overwhelmed, doable. So you can walk on that field without hurting yourself. That's what Master Shantideva suggests to all of us. Whenever we overwhelmed, if you manage to walk with your own anger, that's pretty much indirectly equivalent of eliminating all the enemies, pretty much. Shedan Sungu Sem Chama Yinishiwanyam, Shedan Sungu. You probably need to say like mantra, Omadibino. Shedan Sungu. Anger is a pain, is a pain. So when you harbor that, don't say that you don't feel good. Of course, how you are going to feel good? Because you are in pain, because you are angry. That's that pain. You are not going to experience calm mind, peaceful mind at all. You are not going to experience. There will be zero peace of mind. Calm mind is completely gone. Peace of mind is completely gone. You will not experience physical pleasures or happiness. There will be no happiness and peace in your mind. Not able to sleep well, lose your appetite, then completely lose ability to judge. Wisdom is gone. That's our anger. That's your anger. It's not like somebody else's anger. That's your anger. Oh. So that's what it means, like thought transformations. So now the third line, that third stanza from 8 verses, thought transformations. If you remember that, review that in your mind when you go out, it will protect you. It will protect you. It will protect you. It will protect you a little bit here, there. It could protect you completely. It could protect you 100%, but that very much 100% protection from the third stanza 100% protection from the third stanza is very much depend on how we think about 8 verses thought transformation in daily basis, and how consistent we think about 8 verses thought transformation in daily basis. So that very much depend on that. Getting 100% protection from the 8 world, the third stanza, getting 100% protections, absolute protections. Absolute protection. From the third stanza is very much depend on how consistent we reflect on the third stanza, review, reflect. That's very much depend on that. But if you review that in your mind when you go to the park, your perception change, a little bit change, your perception change. When you realize, you are not just realize, you are being aware of your realizations. You are being aware. You're not just aware, but being aware of your awareness. Being, how you say, being aware of your awareness, of importance of, the third stanza when you walk around, kind of, it temporarily change your perceptions, that you realize being nasty, being unkind is not the way to achieve your happiness. So you have to be mindful. You have to be mindful, like then what if somebody approach to you, give you a look, say something unkind? You have choice. You can apply antidote. If you've been practicing consistently, you could apply antidote right there. If not, Buddha said that you are not tree, you can move. You don't have to sit like tree there, you can move. if you're a tree, so then your root is all in the ground, you can move. So you can move, then you can, avoid the object. So because you have no antidote to apply, you don't have to stick around, you can just, or how you say in English, roll over up. How you say?
Roll off your back.
Yeah, roll off your back. Easy to say, but it's not that easy to do. Roll off your back. So duck does that with the water pretty easily, naturally. But for us, it's not easy to say, roll off of your back. Roll off your back. Roll off your back. Chukila, how you say?
Yeah. Roll off your back, or roll off like water off a duck's back.
Roll off your back. That people understand when I say roll off your back. Oh, that's good. Roll off your back. Yeah, unfortunately, every day risk. There's no risk free. Every day is risk. Every day is risk. Somebody may destroy your peace of mind. Every day risk. Therefore, we have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant. Vigilant. We have to be vigilant. Then eventually, probably there will be less thought because the amount of thought will reduce, amount of word will reduce. So then probably amount of peace in mind will increase. Right now, many things that we say, that I say, that you say, maybe it's not necessary, but not being mindful, then it's become like habit that you just said. So then, I don't think it's random I don't think the complication and difficulty is random. I don't think it's random. If it's random, then there's no hope. Then there's nothing you can do. Then again, what Master Shantideva said, if there's something you can do, then you should do rather than worry. If there's nothing can be done, then why you should worry? Because there's nothing can be done. It's almost like worrying about tomorrow sunrise. There's really nothing you can do. Sun will rise. Like, yeah, I don't think there's such a thing called random. Everything is dependent on causes and conditions. Everything happens based on something. Flower grows because of the ground, fertilizer, sun, air, rain. That doesn't just grow randomly. That we use the word random, but actually in reality, there's not such a thing called random. Everything's dependent on causes and conditions. May I able to stop delusions, we need to try to rise with full force. So like maybe Kamala, you want to read the translation in English, but there's better translations than with my broken English. I already explained the point.
Vigilant the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, as I said, some of us might say, oh, how is about if somebody being very unreasonable, unkind, unreasonable? What else? What other words? Unkind, unreasonable. More words?
Mean,
Yeah, mean, all of that,
thoughtless,
Thoughtless.
considerate.
Thoughtless. I think that's the good one, thoughtless. We try to minimize our thought. I'm just joking, thoughtless. Being unreasonable, what we should do, unreasonable. How many times we ourselves being unreasonable, how many times do we ever remember that? So we probably being unreasonable many times. Yes, I think the Dharma, the teaching has, if we put into practice, the teachings absolutely guarantee protections. The teaching, we're not talking about the people, the teachings itself is pure, it's pure. Or whether we get absolute guarantee protection or not, that's very much based on how we think about the teachings, how consistently we think about teachings in daily basis. That's very much dependent on that. So like driving, most of you don't need to think. You don't need to meditate before you drive and think about how you're going to drive. It's become like automatic. Why? Because you've been doing that year after year, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. That's why it's like you drive pretty much without thinking. Can you imagine that person who's getting a new license learning permit, how much effort they have to put into driving, and how much anxiety, fear, stress that person goes through. Do you go through that? No. Experience, because you do that every day. Same thing. Again, Master Shantideva said, if you make yourself familiar with something, there's nothing that doesn't become familiar, including everything, painting, playing guitar, playing harmonica, playing piano, cooking, running, jogging, exercise, everything. I think Master Shantideva was very right. The guide to Buddhist way of his life is like composed in like 7th century, 12th century, or 11th century. Anyway, that's many centuries ago, many hundreds of years ago. That book is already composed by Master Shantideva. So I'm not very good in history. So when I took exam in the monastery, so history lessons, I almost got 0 grade. Not just we, the monks, so it's like they just put it there. Before it's not there. So that's later on, education department decided to put it there so that simply there's no time to study history. Anyway, Master Shantideva said, there's nothing that doesn't become familiar if you put some effort, if you try to make familiar with you. Making a bread. Beginning, you don't know how to make dough. Your hand is like all the dough. You have no idea what to do. And you look at someone who know how to make bread. Well, they make it so easy. Yeah, because they've been doing this long period of time. It's not like they just figured that out like instantaneously, but they've been doing that long period of time. They know exactly. So you don't probably your hand is both our hands like full of dough, so they don't know what to do. People who know, they know exactly. Same material, same water. It's not like they are using some magical water. Same dough, same flour, same thing. And you are kind of, wow, like, look at that. Yeah, been doing this every single day. So, and a long time ago, the group of Geshes in Santa Fe, Taos, New Mexico, we are invited into the mountain, top of the mountain. One Irish lady, she is also, because they are having some kind of, they are facing doubt. So we are invited there to do some ritual performance for rain. And combined with her own tradition, Irish traditions, they also do something for the rain. We are waiting in our room. All of a sudden, there's one, I think, the 85 years old man show up. There's our driver, taking to the mountains. Oh, like on the walking stick. There's one young monk. Yeah, we've been reciting prayers all the way to all the way to the top of the mountains. When we reached to the base of the mountain, he got out with his stick, walking stick, and he banged on all the wheels, make sure all the wheels are okay. So then he said, "Get inside." The young monk offered to drive. He refused. The man refused. So the man showed there's like many like stick. There's a stick. He showed a tiny one. He said, "If I put that, I could drive on the mountains." Mountain itself, not the road, mountain itself. Oh, so then from there, I think probably we didn't breathe. Probably we did not breathe. So eventually, probably he sensed that we are afraid. So when we got there, he made jokes. He made jokes that, like, yeah, we are kind of like freaking out all the Geshes. So the kind of like for attachment to the life. So experience, you have confidence, you know exactly what you're doing. Okay, on the road, he almost hit one car, not in the mountain, but that makes us more scared, So he's very his drive kind of rough, doesn't follow the rule that much, It almost somebody honking at us. Anyway, experience, experience. Experience. In Tibet, there's one Lama, when he's riding a horse, before he put one other feet on the other side of the horse, he finished entire Lamrim meditations. Wow, that's not easy. For me, it's taking a long time. Experience. You can do. Don't get discouraged. You can do. Definitely you can do. Full protection. Then rushing in the Simjan dido topic to reject that it's hard. Even though you say from your mouth, it is practical wise, it is not easy things to do. It's not easy things to do. But if you do, you get maximum benefit. So that benefit is absolutely 100% guarantee. That benefit is absolutely 100% guarantee. Rushing in the Simjan dido topic. So now think about, please take a moment and breathe and think about what will you do? That includes myself. I'm not just talking about you. What will you do when you encounter somebody being unreasonable, thoughtless, mean, whatever you call? Don't ever think that you have no choice. You always have choice. You always have choice. Always choice. It requires some mindfulness. It requires mindfulness. That's for sure. It requires mindfulness. What's important? That also needs to be understood very clearly. What is important? What is important? That moment you may feel that something else is important, then you kind of forget what is initially what is important. It's piece of your mind. Oh, you could be walking with somebody else, maybe trying to decorate or maybe trying to sort it out, things in your kitchen. And you suggest something that other person kind of disagree. What will you do? What will you do? These are little things, little things. Because you want these particular things to go there. And you have reason. It's not like you are not being unreasonable. You have reason because this thing's been not used very often. That thing's been used once a while and it's getting in the way, so maybe move over there. Then you thought of another thing, or maybe there's something else to move. It's all good thought. Then that other person say, oh, but that's not a good idea. It won't do any good. Because you thought it's going to do something good. Other person thought it's not going to do any good. You don't like to hear that. You don't like to hear that. And you want to push your idea. You want to push your idea rather than breathe and take a moment, sit back and think, is that true? It doesn't do any good. So then there's a stress being generated. Now there's some kind of conflict between what you want to do, what other person doesn't want to do. Then you come up with all this, oh, maybe that person doesn't want to move. Maybe he's being just lazy. That's his ultimate goal is he doesn't want to move, that's all. It's not like it doesn't do any good. It will do good things, but he doesn't want to move. Then you come up with all sort of reason, to justify that his thinking is wrong. Meanwhile, completely forgetting what is important. Moving things, this thing here, there, that's not that important. What is important is your peace of mind and the other person's peace of mind. We don't think about minimizing argument. We always trying to push our own agenda into somebody else's life. They are not many times not willing to listen what other person is suggesting, and not just listening and completely rejecting and probably almost saying that you are wrong, I'm right. That's not the way to protect your peace of mind. That's not the way to protect your peace of mind. But we do, unfortunately, we do. And I'm like, yeah, so that many occasions, all these little things here, moving things here, painting house, putting like decorating a house, how many people that get into argument, like painting a house, moving, decorating things in the kitchen, decorating things in the house, going outside, outing, like, going here, this leg or that leg, all kinds of things. Not knowing what is the most important things to protect. Or what is the most important to protect. That's why, that's the reason why life gets complicated. Life gets complicated. This is talking about someone being mean, unreasonable. It's not like you are seeing someone who's against your suggestions, against your opinion, against your idea. It's not like that. It's like somebody being just mean, unkind. How is it about if somebody's have different idea than your idea, different opinion than your opinions, how you deal with that in the first place? Then talk about somebody being miserable and unreasonable, very mean, unkind. It's tough. It's tough. It's not easy. It's tough. Therefore, being consistent, continuously reflecting on what is the most important things for my life, what is the most important things. Being mindful. So that helps a little bit here, there. It could help a lot if you're aware, your surrounding all the time with the awareness of practice. So that requires consistency. Otherwise, what are the kadam, one of the kadam, two tongues. Your belly is full, your tummy is full. Oh, weather's very nice. So then you appear as a very great practitioners or maybe great meditators. Because tummy is full, the weather is nice, there are very little things to complain, and you appear as a great practitioners. When little things go down, when little things fall apart here, there, so then you show who really you are, that you kind of manifest that. Yeah, this body can be spoiled, this mind can be very much spoiled. Yeah. When you travel some other part of the world, just looking at their way of life, how much they make. You never heard here in this country, people make $1.50 a day, all day, hard labor. physical labor, not just sitting on the sofa and like working on the computer. Hard physical labor, how much they make? $1.50 a day. Imagine that. You don't hear much complaint from them. They feel lucky they have job. It's like, everything is relative. Everything is relative. Everything is relative. So, of course, in the West, in America, you have your own version of difficulty or challenge. Those challenges compared to these people is nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. And they are human beings. They look same like us. Not exact the same, but they are one of us. What will you do when you encounter someone being very mean and unreasonable, unkind? What will you do? So that question, each of us, we need to ask, what will you do? Avoid or apply antidote. Avoid, apply antidote. Apply antidote that require consistent reflections on the practice, on this stanza number 4 all the time. Stanza number 4. Stanza number 4 all the time. Consistent reflection on the stanza number 4 in daily basis, or you could maybe apply when you encounter, you could apply, you could see. Maybe you may not react in negative way. You are looking from the problem. You may able to look at the situation from the broader picture rather than just focusing on what's happening right there. If we are consistently reflecting on the stanza number 4 in daily basis, there is possibility you could avoid, you could apply sticking with the object, somebody being miserable, unreasonable, unkind. You could stand there and you could apply antidote. If not, so then Kadama Master suggests avoid the object because negative mind will die down slowly if you avoid the object. That's true choice. And I was just wondering, what will you do? What will you do? These are the advice given by Kadama Master. Avoiding object, you are going to be more successful rather than trying to stick there and applying antidote. This advice is given by Kadama Master probably a couple hundred years ago. Or another one said the same thing, but same meaning. Another one said the negative mind will die down gradually if you avoid the object. On top of that, Buddha said, you are not tree, you can move. You're not tree, you can move. You can move. So now the question is, what will you do? What will you do? Because, yeah, you are responsible for your happiness. I don't say I'm not responsible. Yeah, you are morally responsible for your happiness. That you have to admit that you are morally responsible for your happiness. That's your moral responsibility. So then, based on that, what will you do? What will you do? Advice given by Kadama Master, then the teaching is given by Kadama Master, such as Geshe Langri Taba, Reciting in Simjan of Didu Taba, to reject that. Yeah, at the beginning, it's going to be big challenge. You even don't want to hear that person's name, just forget about seeing that person. You even don't want to hear that person's name. That much resentment. Even you don't want to hear that person's name. You don't want anybody to say that person's name. That much resentment. And you think, and you think, and you think, then you realize most important thing for me is protect my peace of mind. That's the most important things. Revenge is not that, that's not the most important things. But I was driven by that, I didn't realize that's ignorance. It's not wisdom. Eventually, then you slowly you change. Now you have no problem. Somebody says his or her name, you're okay. Before, no way, there's no way. No way. You will fight with any person that bring up that person's name, you will fight with them. Now, you thought about, that is meditation. When you think, that's meditation. Now, when somebody bring that person's names, now your attitude change, your perception change. Why did change taking place? Oh, because of the practice, spiritual practice. Spiritual practice, you've been consistent with every single day. So there's changing your perceptions. Eventually, before it's impossible, even just somebody saying that person's name, you 100% reject. It's impossible you to say, but somebody else saying you don't want to say. Now it's kind of ease, a little bit ease. You don't mind if somebody's saying this person's name, you don't mind. Eventually, or somebody, that person is now just doing very well. Because your attitude, the before, you want to hear that. Now, you thought, good. It's good, it's good things. To be successful, it's good things. You have one negative thought based on one person is gone from your heart. There's one less stress in your heart. In your heart, there's one less stress. You got rid of that by thinking and thinking. Finally, you got rid of that. Next time when you hear that person's name, nothing happens. Same person, same name, now nothing happens. Not just that. Or someone says, that person is now being successful. You say, good, that's good things. That's good things. You don't have any resentment. Who's benefiting? You are the benefiting. You are the one who's benefiting because now one painful one pain is gone. One pain is gone from your heart. You have less pain now. One pain is gone. Somehow you manage to get rid of that pain and realize it's just ridiculous to hold that pain. Ridiculous. No? Oh, I think simple not dito tape ne to the regent do never. No, so regent nevertheless like seeing being unreasonable, being unkind, mean, seeing that is like precious jewel, that's very difficult. Practically, that's very, very difficult. It's not easy at all. We can read, we can study, but it's practical. It's not easy. Not easy at all. It's not easy. Not easy. It is possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. Why is it possible? Because you can get it. You are equipped with achieving enlightenment. That's why it's possible. but it's not easy. It's not easy. Just think about, if you can do that, never lose your peace of mind. You never lose your peace of mind. Benefit, you are never going to lose your peace of mind. Benefit. There's a great risk that you may lose your coolness. How you say coolness?
Lose your cool?
Yeah, you may lose your cool. That's great risk. You may lose your cool. This risk is real. It's not just imagining, it's very real. You're just, wishing here, you're trying to develop strong wish. May I able to see whenever I encounter somebody being mean, unkind, unreasonable, may I able to see that being as a precious jewel. Oh, easy to say. Practically, it's not easy. That easy to see. That easy to see. As I said, gradually, it may change before you don't want to hear. Just forget about encountering unreasonable being, unkind, mean, but just forget about that. It gradually change. Somebody hurt your feelings, and you hold on that. You don't want to hear that person's name. You don't want anybody to say that person's name. And you only wish something negative for that person. If something good things to happen, you hate it. You don't prove. Many things like slowly change one by one. Oh, now hearing name. It's okay. Oh, now like somebody praising that person. Now somebody saying that person becomes successful now. It's gradually change. So then maybe it's possible you could see so see, you walk in the park, all of a sudden somebody like somebody cursing very loudly. Our first reaction, oh, I found piece of jewel. That's not the first reaction. That's not the first reaction. If that's the first reaction, oh, your life is going to be much better. Your life is going to be much better. Your life is going to be 100% much better. Less stress. That's not the case. Then you heard again, that person cursing again very loudly. And you heard again, and you realize that person has Tourette's. How is it?
Tourette's?
Yeah, Tourette's. You understand Tourette's? No problem. You feel bad. Why you feel bad? Do you realize this person is sick? Is that true? Same thing. When we talk about the meditation Buddha practice, attachment, anger, ignorance, it's called as a disease. It's called disease. If somebody's angry, they are sick. But we don't see they are sick. Because we don't see the delusion is a problem. We don't see the delusion is a problem. We see the person is a problem. We don't see the delusion is a problem. That is the problem. So now that, as soon as you realize that person has some kind of disease, then you feel kind of bad, then you wish that person to be well. So now second time when you hear, it doesn't bother that much, And like first time, like, wow, in the public place, like how you could say something like in the public place. At that time, you have no idea that person trying so hard to control, but not able to control. Not able to control. It's a disease. The person so hard, you have no idea how hard that person is trying not to say. You have no idea. Everybody's trying so hard to be kind, I think. What do you think? For auspicious reason, we said that. Auspicious reason, everybody's trying so hard to be kind. Second time when you hear, third time you hear, it doesn't bother that much because you realize that person is sick. Same thing. When somebody's being very angry, that person is sick, very sick. But we don't see the delusion as a problem. That is the problems. So therefore, we don't get any taste of liberations. We don't get any taste of liberation. What is liberations? Probably have no clue. Because we don't see delusion as a problem. The delusion is a problem. Of all the complications that we face in this life is caused by delusions. It doesn't cause it by compassion, loving kindness, care, respect. It's caused by delusions. Caused by delusions. Ignorance. Seeing and believing in ignorance. So what will you ask yourself question? Okay, so before you recite this the stanza, what will you do? What, Domasi? Time up?
No, Geshe, I had a question.
Yes. Well, how much? Okay, now I have a question. How much time left?
About 10 minutes, Geshe.
Oh yeah, okay.
So my question is, can you talk a little bit about what would be the logic that would take us from thinking this mean person is, a problem to thinking this person is a jewel? Because like understand, I can see getting to where you're patient with them, but seeing them, what is the tool to see them actually as a precious jewel? How does that mean person who gets at me, how does that person become a precious jewel?
You need to think about what you gain.
Okay.
What do you gain from that person?
A chance to practice patience.
Yeah, you gain patience.
Yeah.
What else? You could gain compassion.
Compassion, yeah.
You could gain loving kindness. There's many things you could gain from that, depending on that person. You could gain, first of all, you can gain a lot of patience. That person is providing you to practice the patience.
Mm-hmm.
You can practice patience with somebody being nice. There's no reason to practice patience. Why you practice patience with someone nice? First of all, you can practice patience with someone nice. You can't practice. It's impossible. You only practice patience with somebody that's kind of get into your nerve. So you gain patience. There are mental qualities. You get loving kindness. You get compassion. That's why then you see that person as a precious jewel, because it's provided you so many opportunities to gain so many mental qualities. That's the reason why there is possibilities focusing on qualities that you gain from based on that person's. So based on that qualities or opportunities that person provide you to gain those qualities, based on that knowledge, then you can see if there's a possibility you could see that person as a precious jewel. But practically it is a challenge. It is a challenge for you, for me, for all of us. So, but before that, we have choice. We don't have to be mean. We don't have to be mean. That you have choice, even though you are not able to see that person as a piece of precious jewel. But way before that, you don't have to react. You don't have to be mean. You don't need to respond. You can just avoid. Go somewhere else. There's many steps before that. So the seeing as a precious jewel. Are we convinced? Are we convinced that you could gain so many qualities based on mean person? Are you convinced? No, probably not. You don't want to be around with unreasonable persons. How you are going to see the benefit being around with unreasonable persons, gaining something? You are not convinced because first place you don't want to be around. And you never thought about when I'm being around with unreasonable people, unkind people, what I should do. You never thought about that. Very good question. I think it's a very good question, but practically it's challenge. So before that, avoiding that we need to think about something else before we see. Oh, you found a piece of his precious jewel. That's take a lot of effort, and it's not going to be easy. But you pray every single day. You pray. You pray that may I able to do this. May I able to see that mean person. Whenever I encounter mean person, may I able to see there's a piece of jewel, piece of precious jewel. So that you pray. So maybe that will lead somewhere. And then it doesn't mean just pray, but then when you small little things, as I said, moving this here, there, you need to pause and think before you push your idea or opinion on somebody else without considering their opinion, their suggestion is something good. So these things probably need to work on. Otherwise, seeing physically encountering mean persons, how are you going to see that is a piece of precious jewel? How? Impossible. You can even compromise your idea with somebody else's idea. How in the world you are going to see when you encounter mean person, see there's a precious jewel? It almost seems like impossible. It is difficult. Therefore, Cholam Kundu Tsikijans, train my mind verbally, one of the mind in the text, I'm not sure which one. Cholam Kundu Tsikijans, train my mind verbally throughout all my conduct verbally. What that means? That means that repeating the word in your mind, repeating your mind. As I said, when you go to the park, repeating that stanza in your mind, that temporarily change your perceptions, how you perceive other beings around you, and that helps not to judge. Yeah, that helps not to judge what they're doing, what they're yeah, people do all kinds of things. You do all kinds of things. Same time, people do all kinds of things. That at least stop you to judge people. You know, so perception to change a little bit. So that's what it means. Train my mind verbally throughout all my conduct. That means you are saying, may all sentient beings have happiness, cause of happiness. Just saying that word, may all sentient beings have happiness, the cause of happiness. They change perceptions. When you go outside, they change perceptions. Well, there's many teachings you can review, you can repeat. You don't say it loud, but you can say it in your mind. You can repeat. Nobody wants even the slightest problems. Nobody, including yourself, all the people that walk in the park, same thing. Nobody wants slightest problems. Nobody. How I know? You ask them. You ask them. You ask yourself. You ask them, and you find out. It's nothing to do with mind or teaching. That's the fact. You are not content when it's come down to happiness. Same thing, other persons. They are not content when it's come down to happiness. There's no differences. That's the fact. There's no difference between me and you when it's come down to that. Same thing. It's all same. We're all same. If that's the fact, based on then you judge, based on then you calculate what you should do. Calculate, precisely calculate based on that reality. Are you going to end up more benefit if you be kind, if you can be kind, at least be aware other person doesn't want any problem. Just at least just to be aware. Just to be aware. Very breathing, living being there, you see is looking for every single second, looking for happiness. That's the fact. Doesn't matter Tibetan, American, white, black, brown, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, same thing. That we have to be aware, So based on that fact, then precisely calculate your approach, precisely calculate your approach in order to get maximum benefit for your life. You need to precisely calculate how to approach. So that's what it means. Train my mind verbally throughout all my conduct, means repeat and thinking, saying the word in your mind at the same time thinking. What is that? That is productive meditations. Even though you are not sitting down, that is meditations. That is called productive meditations. Even though you are not sitting down, doesn't matter. That is meditations. Okay, so maybe now time is up, I think. Yeah. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Ryan, for coming to class and always thinking about you in my prayer. Right.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So then, thank you all of you for coming in, and have a wonderful night. Enjoy the weather. Now weather is being very nice. Don't become attached. It could change any moment. Just enjoy. Don't cling on that. It could change any moment. While it's there, enjoy. Oh yeah, thank you. And people, if there's anybody watching on YouTube, then thank you very much. And have a wonderful night. And when the Alhamdulillah will do the dedications. Oh, yeah.
May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms, hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. The one who mastered his speech at a very young age. The one with great patience who received the name Avatare. The one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa on bliss and void. Lama, ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Om Tare Tu Re Soha.
Oh yeah, thank you. Good night. See you next Wednesday. Buenas noches. Hasta mañana. No, hasta mañana. Hasta luego. Okay. Yeah.
Gracias, Geshe.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Gracias, Geshe.
Oh yeah, okay.
Hi.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Geshe.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gelek.
Thank you,
Thank you. Good night.